this was just the very, very first pass. And as you can see, like, we've got the main motion in place. It's okay. The hands and the face, though, are bland. The hands especially. Her hands are so big that just keeping them perfectly flat like that, just, it kills the shot. The other thing about this is that while it looks good from this view, like decent, if we look at it from the side, look at those hips. See how they kind of just shake all over the place and like there's no flow or weight to them? There's things we're going to need to fix here. We're going to have to adjust a lot of our curves and a lot of our keys to make sure that this plays properly and that the physicality is there. So, like I said, that's going to be the goal for today, is adjusting those elements, making sure it all makes sense, and then refining the poses to push the line of action. So for example here, really try to push this line of action through there. This foot, it just feels boring, like just straight 90-degree bend in the foot there. That's not interesting. That doesn't feel dynamic. The face, really try to push that. So yeah, that's going to be the goal for today. So let's actually just jump in and get started here. So the first thing that I probably should do is fix my arcs and my motion. The reason for that is I could start working on the pose and try to push the line of action, all of that stuff. But if I don't have a good motion, I'm going to have to rebuild it potentially. So I'm going to just do a quick pass of cleaning up the graph editor. Kind of just using this as a guide here. So let's take a look and see what we have. Should I lock this camera? Okay. So right here we have our translate X. This is the side to side of the character. So right there. And essentially what's happening is the character starts, they just start moving, swoop through, and then they come up to this point, and I want this like held feeling where they come up, hold, and then swoop through. And overall I think it's working pretty well, although it does feel a little strange that it kind of pops right there. So I might just try cleaning this up here a little bit, just like that. So it kind of eases in just a little bit more gently. Comes through. We get our fast motion right through here. So she starts to change direction. Swoops through. I wonder if maybe I could tone that down just a tad. No. I'd rather not tone anything down if possible. And she comes through here. Now let's see. I'm wondering if my tool here is going to work. And Fabiana, hey, thank you so much for the sub. Aw, thank you so much. 17 months, jeez, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So, thank you. So what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to see how easing these keys will work, and normally I don't use the Animbot tools. That's just a preference of mine because a lot of the times I demo things for people who don't have any plugins, so I don't like to use these. Since this is more of a just let's animate, let's use some plugins, see how it feels. So essentially what I'm doing here is I just want to ease these keys in and get this nice soft ease in there. And actually, I can probably do that right up to this point. Let's see. Actually, no. I do want this. So this is a very important thing. See how there's this little bit of a wobble right there? I could have easily gone, okay, let's get a nice ease. Whoop. Just clean all that up, and actually right here, clean all that up there. Perfect, nice ease. Great. Except if I do that, I'm missing a very important thing, which is as she jumps back, I want the hips to have this little push back, because as she's doing this motion right here, it should feel like there's a shift in the hips as the feet slide out right there. So this is one of those areas where I have to be very careful that I don't overcorrect and essentially ruin what I was trying to create. Oh, don't do that. I moved all the geometry and the controls all at the same time. Okay, let's buffer those curves so we actually can see what was happening before and after. Okay, so come through here. Now one thing I might do is I might just pull this up a little bit here so it doesn't actually reverse direction. And we just get this little bit of a shift right there. That way we don't get a shake going on. Okay. Comes through. Starts to ease back. And then here, she comes through and there's just this little moving hold right there. That's good. But this pose, which you can see right now, it's almost right in the middle. I can tell because the curve is pretty much straight. So how can I make this pose feel a little bit more dynamic? I need it to favor one side more than the other. And since her front foot is shifting forward, or sorry, shifting back, that means she can't really put her weight on that foot just yet. So I'm going to shift her weight a little bit further back here. And then we get that weight shift in there. And then let's maybe pull this back a little bit. And let's clean up that ease right there. So there, ease. Something like that. Okay. Now, actually, it doesn't matter if I worry about the in-betweens right now. We're working in step mode, so there we go. That should feel a little better. So just a quick pass on cleaning up that curve. Let's look at our translate Y. The translate Z is going to be the one that really needs work, because I wasn't really watching it, and you can see there's a lot of stuff going on here. Actually, let's do that one first, just because it needs it. So that's going to be the front to back here. And essentially what I'm doing when I'm looking at this is I'm going to have to think of, how is the weight shifting? How is the weight going to transition from one foot to the other? So for example, here she's lifting this foot, which means she's going to have to lean forward onto her other leg. Great, that works. Here, she's reaching back with that foot, so it's okay that she continues to lean forward. Although her body is also leaning forward, so maybe it doesn't have to go quite as far. Now here she's placing her foot back there. Her weight is moving back. But does she need to push it so fast back there? Can I just bring it back slightly? Essentially, I need to get that knee to bend a little bit. Let's actually see if I can maybe... Can I reverse it here a little bit? Yeah, that works. So, ease that out. Shifting the weight. Comes back. Now here, this is going to be the tricky part. We've got this momentum that has to push through. Her body is going to have to curl back. This pose is definitely going to need a lot of work here. Like just the feet or the whole character? I'm just changing the hips right now. Trying to get the flow of the hips to work correctly. So right now, if we watch this view here, the hips are just kind of bouncing around a lot, which doesn't really work. So she comes through, she's putting her weight on this back leg, and then suddenly here her hips jump forward, which they really shouldn't. They should, if anything, she's putting that weight onto that back foot. There was a lot of momentum. It should kind of stay in that position a little bit more. Maybe just a little forward. And then come through. She needs to shift her weight over onto the red foot a little bit, but this might be way too much. So let's bring that back. And then where's the extreme going to be? So I'm looking for the moment where the body is going to be balanced the most forward. She plants her foot there. It's not going to be there because this is the moment that foot has touched the ground. So the weight is still going to be favoring the back foot a little bit more. So maybe the extreme should be right around here. That seems pretty good. So let's just ease this in. Right in there. Nice and clean. The rotations will definitely need a lot of work. I'm curious. Yeah, look at that. Ugh. Okay. Now she starts to shift her weight over. Let's ease that out a little so we don't have a weird pop. Comes through. And she starts to shift her weight onto this back leg. Now, since she's lifting her foot here, her weight is going to have to shift back quickly, which we have. That's nice. And then here, why would it go forward? Doesn't need to go forward. And essentially, I think I could just do this. And then as she does this quick little step back, make sure she's balanced. Okay. So I'm just trying to find the weight shift here. She's going to be doing a little shift in her pose there. But honestly, I think part of it is that the feet are moving more than they should in Z. Oh, not sync timeline, sync. Okay, good. So, translate said. The feet really shouldn't have this big shift here. They'll slide back, but not too much. Oh wait, that should be, I'm thinking the wrong curve. For the feet, it's going to be the translate X. Okay. Translate X. Translate X. Through shifts. Trying to get that feeling good. essentially what I want is as she moves back here, the feet should just really move straight back, not out too far. So let's just shift this around there. Okay. And then the hip also should just kind of stay in line here. So we see it move back on this view, but from the front view, it just kind of stays more or less the same. Now we've got a little foot sliding here. That's fine, because all I need to do is copy the pose. Okay. So these hold there. Okay. So foot holds there. What else? Okay. I don't know why my sync to selection is not working here. Let's actually turn that on and off, see if that'll reset it. There you go. Haha. I love that feature. It makes it so much easier to clean up curves. And then I think there should be a snap feature, but not too worried about it. Do you have any advice on streaming animation? I've been doing it too, but I feel like I'm not sure how to make my work entertaining. Honestly, I don't have too much advice on it, simply because like when I'm streaming, I really don't think too much about stuff like that. I'm probably I will be honest, I'm a terrible streamer. I have no like social media presence. I don't promote myself in any way that I probably should be doing. It's pretty bad. I would say that the thing for me is just it's kind of two things. One, you stream because you're having fun. You stream because you just want to do it, and not for an audience, not for anything else. You're just doing it for yourself. So just kind of have fun doing it. Even if you weren't streaming, you'd still be doing it, kind of thing. So for example, for me, if I wasn't streaming, I'd be doing some animation on my own and doing some quick tests. So it's not like I'm not trying to like force myself to do this. The second thing is, in order to build the audience, just kind of be yourself. Don't try to put too much of a personality in there. Like, okay, I'm going to be a totally different person when I stream. Now you could, like, I know a lot of streamers who kind of do that to kind of build more of a brand, I guess you could say. But at least to me, I don't want to be a brand. I just want to be me. I want to do this because I like to do it, and because I like animation. Ideally, when you are streaming, or like if you are trying to build this as kind of more of a career or more of a full project, you're going to have to do some social media stuff. You're going to have to promote your work. It's going to be very active. You can't do this in just a passive role. It's a lot of work to get all of that in there. So it's like with Sir Wade. He put a lot of work into his YouTube channel and everything he does. He didn't just post it and then we'll let the people come and that's it. No, he was active in posting everywhere, in promoting, in really making himself visible. yeah, that whole social media ecosystem. Do some reading up on that. Learn the algorithms. All of that stuff. That's going to be one of the big ways to grow and to actually like make a, I guess you could say, a career out of it. For me, this is not a career. This is not something that I don't really care about making money off of Twitch. I don't care about like making it big and having sponsors and all of that stuff. Really, the only thing I want to do is help people. So if I'm able to give some feedback and hopefully help someone along the way, then I'm happy. And if people enjoy it, then yeah, that's pretty much it. So for me, it's just doing it because I like it, because I enjoy chatting with people and helping someone out along the way. So I hope that helps. And Adam Wilson, I hope the feedback was helpful. Like, I know a lot of it comes down to, if you had the time. 24 hours is not a ton of time to get everything in. And I hope it didn't feel like it was like, they should have done this and all of this, especially considering, again, it's 24-hour animation. But yeah, it was a lot of fun taking a look at your work. I still love that shot. It's so cool. The way the character flips after they get hit. Let's add a little overshoot here. Just a little bit as the shot ends. Okay. So let's look at the hips now as they go through. Yeah, that feels better. So if you watch the movement of the hips now, see how there's this kind of weight shift right at the end? Versus before, let's swap the buffer curve. See how it moved before? It's all janky right there. It's like just shifting around. It's not terrible, but there's definitely some weird movements and pops. You can see the old curve and the new curve right there. So essentially we're just smoothing that out, making sure that the weight shift happens at the correct times. Let's see. Also, you need to be able to animate while talking and reading a chat. My brain would certainly leak by my ears. You can definitely do that. There are some streamers, though, that are very good at just like letting people watch. I don't do too much research on Twitch, so I'm terrible at this kind of stuff. But like, they'll put elements on the screen that are interactive. They'll put things that people can do in the chat. Eventually one day I would like to do that, just to make the streams more fun for people. But there are ways that you can make the streams interactive without having to talk all the time. And essentially, there's a lot of streamers who just like, they turn off their mic, they're not even on camera, and they'll just animate and they get a good amount of people following, and then they'll just come up on camera or on mic once in a while. So you could do it. It depends on the format. For me, because this is more of an educational format, in the sense of I want to explain my process, I want to talk about what I'm doing and hopefully answer some questions along the way. I like to be on camera so I can mime things out, and then as well being on mic so I can actually talk about it. So that's kind of my format, but it's not the one and only. Let's see. Speaking of Sir Wade, where did the Sir come from? Because I've seen multiple people put Sir in front of their names when they do visual effects. Well, the Sir is his name. Sir is his first name. His name is Sir. Wade is his middle name, which he uses as a last name. So, yeah, that's just his name. So you're making a lot of sense. I've been having fun being able to do my homework with an audience, explaining what I know about animation, and the best part is when I get feedback on people's drawings to help them grow. Yeah, exactly. And your audience might start small. It might not be huge. But like, keep in mind, like when I started this, I was also already a mentor at Animation Mentor. I had people who like I was teaching classes with and all of that stuff. So when I started the community here, a lot of those people kind of followed along and kind of started the community that we had. It's gonna take a while. Like I'm nowhere near this, like a channel, or the Prep Bros channel is nowhere near the size of Sir Wade's channel. And to me, that's okay, because I don't promote anything. I'm honestly surprised new people come in as much as they do, and new people decide to subscribe as much as they do, because I'm terrible at social media and any promotional stuff. So yeah, don't worry about the size of the audience. As long as you're having fun, that's the important thing, and the audience will join in eventually. It can take some time, but if you do want it to grow faster, promote yourself. Let's see, I wasn't the best shape to do it, and it was great feedback. The rifle going through the wall got me laughing so hard. Oh, nice. Let's see, hopefully they won't bug too much on it. Yeah, hopefully not. Even without an audience, I'd still be animating, so Twitch is just a bonus. Exactly. That's a great way of looking at it. Like for me, I'd be doing this anyway, so why not help at least one other person? If I get one person in the stream and have a little conversation with them, then it was worth it. Like I did more than if I had just sat here alone doing nothing, or animating on my own. So see, I thought his name was Wade. Fair enough. Yeah, a lot of people think that Sir's name is Wade when they first meet him. That's what I thought as well when he was a student at Animation Mentor. But no, it is Sir, which is really cool. Like the fact that his name is Sir, I really like that. I'm just looking at the hip motion right now, just double checking. I feel like, okay, that feels good. Let's look at our translate Y. So this is going to be the up and down. So you got me into AM, so streams are working. Yay! I'm glad that you got into AM, and hopefully I'll see you in the dailies and get to see more of your work throughout the terms. That'll be fun. So let's see. Look, there's a few areas for the translate Y that I really wanted to pay attention to. Specifically, there's 2 jumps, or like hops more than anything, which right now are not reading. So right here and there. She's supposed to feel like this should be a pop up as she's pushing herself up in order to shift her feet out from under her. And then here should feel like a little bit of a jump upwards that settles into this last pose here. So those 2 areas I need to push a lot more. I want to get that to feel really powerful. So it should be a jump and then like a small saddle hop. So comes through. Essentially what's going to have to happen here is I need the hips to not ease. Right now they're easing in right there. So right there, it's starting to ease in, which is taking away the force of the jump. Right now her feet are still on the ground. She's still pushing off of the ground. Let's lower that so that we get this nice pop right there. And I can probably push this a little bit more here. I wonder if maybe I can push this down just a little bit. It keeps going down and then pop up. Goes up. Right there. Then it'll come down here as her feet settle. Comes down. And then here, I think I might be overstretching the leg. No, we're good there. I can probably push this up just a little higher. Exaggerate that pose. Okay, let's see how that feels. Yeah, that already feels a little bit more, like there's a little bit more energy. It's not huge, but like I said, it's not a jump per se. It's more of a hop. So as long as I get that like extra energy in there. Okay. We can probably exaggerate a little bit more. Let's see. So a lot of that is going to be also in the posing of the back, letting the back and the spine, the rotations, help push that energy in there. Let's try something. Just going to ease this a lot more. Yeah, that feels better. Let's see. How do you make your live broadcast stay on Twitch forever? I saw some channels, their videos will disappear. You have to highlight your videos. So if you are doing Twitch, your videos will disappear if you're not a, what do they call it? A partner. Your videos will disappear in 30 days. If you're a partner, your videos disappear in 60 days. So what you can do is you can highlight the videos. When you go into your video editor on Twitch, you can select the videos and highlight them. That saves them forever. And you can even do some quick editing. So just cut them down into little segments. That's what I do now. Just to kind of make sure that certain demos are a little bit more easy to watch than a full stream. So yeah, that's essentially it. You just need to highlight them. Otherwise, they'll just be gone. Let's see. I kind of want a little bit more of a drop here. So it goes up and then drop. Something like this. So the reason for this is so that we can really feel that hip like take the weight as she lands there. Yeah, that feels a little better. It doesn't just go up and then hold. We feel an extra little shake in there. Now that's going to tweak when we change the rotations, but for now I'm just getting it roughed in. And at the beginning, let's kind of push the arcs through here. So she comes through. I don't mind this drop here, but at the same time, it doesn't really make too much sense that as she picks up her foot, her hips drop faster there. Normally you drop a little faster at the beginning, but I do like the motion that I'm getting, so I'm going to keep it. She steps back on that back leg, which means her foot's going to, or her hips are going to come up here. There's definitely something going on with the hip, so that's, I'm going to be wary about this. Comes up, pushes up, over. Let's see. I think I can exaggerate the... Let's try to exaggerate the height in here. I can always push the feet a little bit. If I push this up a little higher here, it'll make the swoop through a little more dynamic. Okay. And then we get this quick drop here. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Let's see. Let's actually tone this down. Mostly I don't want that back leg to overstretch too much. So it goes up. I really want that hang time here, thinking of the bouncing ball. Then comes through. might adjust this foot here. So what's happening right now is the blue foot is contacting and it's freezing in place, and it's not allowing me the height that I want. I want to kind of bring this a little higher so we can swoop through a little bit more cleanly. And then here, it should just kind of ease in. Let's actually ease all of this in. Just make that nice, graceful motion through there. Okay. Something more like that. I think that's good. Okay, let's look at the hips from a different angle. I'm trying to just look at the hips, not the body right now. Yeah, that looks pretty good. At this point, the things that are really standing out are the rotations. So we'll be able to start exaggerating those in just a little bit. I'm not even an animator, but like I someday just followed you because of your charisma. I only draw. Well, if ever you have questions about drawing, feel free to ask. I'm not great at drawing, but one day when Cameron comes back to the streams and has time, he'll be able to do some proper drawing streams, which is I'm excited for. Let's see, so I got 60 days to recap all of your videos. You only have 30 days. I'm not a partner, unfortunately, or like, unfortunately, because it would be nice to have the videos stay for 60 days. That, and the one feature that I would really love to be a partner for is that as a partner, you have the ability to do, what is it? I forget the exact term. It's like co-streams or something like that, where you can actually have multiple streams running at the same time with other people. So if I could do that, then I could do some collaborations with like Sir Wade and things like that, things I've been wanting to do for a while, which would be really fun to do, like having a bigger connection of streams where we're animating certain things and working together on a project or things like that. I would really love to do that. But unfortunately, I don't quite qualify for a partner. So it's in the horizon. One day we're going to get that feature. So yeah, if anyone wants to watch like the full stream, you have about 30 days before it goes away. Okay. So let's get the hips working now. So I'm going to start with the rotate Y. The reason why I want to start with the rotate Y is it's pretty much, it's going to connect with the legs in a pretty simple way. Usually, not all the time, but usually when you animate the legs, the hips work in a sympathetic way, which basically means that if you bring a leg forward, the hip on that side goes forward. If the hip goes, or the leg goes back, the hip will go back. The hips are working with the legs to maximize their reach. Now, this isn't always the case. So for example, here, as she's pushing her leg back, you'll notice that that hip right here is a little bit more forward. That's fine. It will eventually follow, but I don't want it to feel like it's 100% locked across. So we're going to be getting the leg that goes through here first, a little bit of a sympathetic twist right in there, but then the hip comes through afterwards. And this should swoop through a little bit more. That should not kind of pop. There will be times when you can have things that are a little bit rougher, but because this is a dance, I really want to try and get that like smooth gliding effect. Let's see. Hope you get partners someday. It would be interesting. I would love to do that co-stream. Is it co-stream? Maybe. That's the big feature that I would like to try out. Let's see. Now here, she reaches over and the blue leg reaches out. So technically I should start changing directions here, but we'll offset that by 1 frame. Or 1 pose, I should say. Let's actually... yeah, raise that. Comes through. We'll add a little bit more twist here. You see how this is what's getting those hips working will really do. See how the hips, if we look at the line from the front of the hips to the leg, there's kind of this angle change right through there. Let me actually draw it out. So let's also save this because I haven't saved yet. I love that feeling of, I should do something. Wait, I haven't saved any of this yet. Oh no. And then you just hope that something doesn't crash, because you know that the moment you realize you haven't saved, that's when the program's going to go, haha, and die. So let's just draw this out. So, dang it. I forgot. I reset my preferences. I need to find my license file. We do that super quick. Okay, did it work? No. Licensing. Browse. Okay. So this is the blue pencil plugin for anyone who doesn't know. It's a great grease pencil tool plugin for Maya. You don't need it if you don't use the blue pen, or if you don't use the grease pencil too often, mostly because Maya has a built-in grease pencil tool. With that said, it is very nice. Maya's grease pencil tool, as much as I love Maya, Maya is a great program. The grease pencil tool is, it's just not great. It is very basic. It doesn't give you a lot of features. Yeah, it's just not super powerful. The blue pencil plugin has layers. It has just a lot more features, which is really nice. Okay, so right now we're getting this line right here. So this is kind of breaking the connection between the hips and the legs a little bit. Not terrible, but it is enough that it kind of bothers me. So by adjusting the rotate Y just a little, just like this, see how suddenly we don't get that weird step, but instead it creates just a smooth, clean line right in the body. That's what I'm trying to accomplish by connecting the hips to the legs. It's not making them feel like they're just like solidly connected like a solid toy, but that there's this natural grace to the motions and to the way they move in conjunction with each other. Let's see. I have a technical question. In the time slider, I would like to copy and paste keys faster. You can do it with middle click, but right click have the option to copy and paste. If I press Control C, Control V, copy and paste all the keyframes. So yeah, so in the graph editor, you can copy and paste the keys individually. So I can select that, Control C, Control V. I'm not a huge fan of that, mostly because I've found it really unreliable. It's just not something I'm comfortable using. I've had a lot of issues where when I hit Control C, especially, Maya just starts trying to save things instead of copying things. I don't use it. If ever I need to copy keys, I do it one of two ways. If I need to copy one single key over to another frame, so let's say I need to copy my let's say rotate Y from this frame, and I need to copy it onto let's say frame 37. So I'll just take this, middle mouse drag to frame 37, and then just take my rotate Y here, right click, and then key selected right there. and that copied to just that one attribute. If I need to copy multiple, I can just select them here, key selected, right there. So I can do that. If I need to copy the entire thing, well, that's even easier. Just middle mouse drag, hit S to copy it, and then you're done. So that's, if I need to copy one key over, I'll just do that. I don't try to hit Control C, Control V, because again, I'm not sure what behavior I'm gonna get. If I need to copy a larger range of keys, I'm going to go in and hit Edit Copy, Edit Paste. The reason I go to Edit Copy is because, once again, sometimes when I hit Control C, Maya just decides it wants to save things instead. So I don't usually hit that hotkey in Maya. And then Edit Paste, I always try to go into the options here and double check that I've got the right options, because there's a lot of different ways you can paste an animation for certain areas and certain situations. So I will go through that option list. So hopefully that makes sense. And Animation Giant, hello! And why not turn on autosave? I'm not a huge fan of autosave for kind of two reasons. One is I want to, or if I don't have incremental save. So actually, let's go in here. This is an important little talk here. So in Maya, there's a few really cool features that you have. If you go to Files and Projects, you can enable autosave. Autosave will basically have Maya go, oh, it's been 10 minutes. You should save your shot. And it'll come up going, hey, save your work. That's great. Really, really good. I used this a lot when I was a student because I would forget to save my shots quite often. The problem with this is I don't trust this unless I also have incremental save turned on. So incremental save basically makes it so every time you save, it versions up as well. It keeps a backup of your last version. If you don't have this and you just enable autosave and just have it automatically save every time, you're gonna get a situation where you might work on a shot and something broke, something just got ruined, and you'll go, okay, I'll just close this off and open up my previous version. But Maya saved, and you're stuck with whatever broken thing happened. So I don't trust it in that sense. So if you do turn on autosave, I always recommend make sure to turn on prompt before save. That'll actually ask you, do you want to save? And then you can choose no or yes. So I will do that. Now, the other thing I'm not a fan of with autosave, the reason why I don't use it on stream, is it kind of breaks the flow of the talking. I might be talking about a certain point and then boop, this thing comes up and it breaks the flow a little bit. So I'm not a fan of that personally. Now, we were talking about incremental save. I believe if you go into your save options here, and I think I just hit save. Yeah, just turn on incremental save there. And then usually I'll limit the amount of saves so I don't have like 200 saves at some point. Essentially what this means is every time you hit Control S to save, or even if auto save turns on, it's going to back up the last version. So if this current version gets corrupted or something happens to it, you always have a backup to go to or like reset back to. So I really like that. Let's see. Kind of off topic. Can I ask what placeholder means to animation? I heard this term a lot. A placeholder is basically something that's going to be replaced later on. So let's say I'm gonna have a set here, and as she's dancing, there's supposed to be a chair that she's gonna sit in later. We'll say a chair. Well, I might not have a chair prop ready. I might not have that actual asset ready. So instead, I'll just create a placeholder, something to show where the chair will be. So I'll just take a polygon cube in this case, kind of place that right there, and okay, that's where the chair will be. Once I get my chair prop, I'll replace it and put it there. And a placeholder can be anything or for anything. It could be a placeholder for a character. So instead of having your rig, you just have another rig in place just to use for now, just to kind of figure out where characters will be in relation to each other. It could be a set piece. It could be even music. Let's say I'm animating a dance. I'm going to animate this to a song maybe, but I don't have the final version of the song I need. So I'll use a placeholder song just to get the same rhythm in there. It's I hope that that makes sense. So yeah, it's essentially something that will be replaced later. See, also, boy, I haven't seen a lot of people use Shift S. I got to know about it very late after starting Maya. Shift S. My Shift S doesn't do anything. Unless do you have to have something selected? No. Yeah, weird. My Shift S doesn't do anything. Shift S. Let's see. Windows. Let's go into the hotkey editor here. I just want to see what Shift S is supposed to do. Like Animal telling me that I've not saved my shot for 3 weeks. Let's see. Add a hotkey Shift S. So UVs, keyframe tangent marking me. Oh, is it for the graph editor maybe? Shift S. No, weird. For me, it doesn't do anything. Let me double check. It might be the language on my computer. No. Weird. Yeah, not doing anything. Okay. I'm trying to do some graph editor edits, and I want to scale a value overall. It is an up and down motion I want to scale. I know you can scale using pushing R and holding Shift and middle mouse clicking, but nothing happens. Yeah, that's weird. It should definitely do that. So for example, if I wanted to scale my rotate Y here, I could just select this range, hit R to activate the scale tool, Shift middle mouse drag. And when you hold down middle mouse drag, you'll see that your cursor changes. It should change the icon there. So that's the first thing I would do, is double check that the cursor is actually changing. What it could be, and this depends on if you're using a mouse or a tablet, certain mice or tablets, the middle mouse click isn't actually a middle mouse click, but a double click. So that could be what's causing the issue, potentially. So I would double check that. Just see if the middle mouse click works in other situations. So for example, middle mouse click in your viewport, if you hold down Alt, should pan left and right. If that's working, then it is most likely not the mouse. The other thing you can do is go into your tool settings. So if you don't see it on the left here, it's going to be this hammer icon in the top right. So turn on your scale tool and then reset the tool. So reset tool right here. Also in the common selection, you can reset in there. I would just open this up so even here, like reset all the different sections just to be safe, and try that. That should get the scale tool back to normal and hopefully working again. I don't see it being a hotkey preferences, because the only hotkeys are, which activates the scale tool. So if you see the scale manipulator, you're good. And then the middle mouse button, which should allow you to pan. If that's working, that's good. And then Shift, you can scale without Shift. So it's not going to be the Shift hotkey that should be the issue. You could even just try scaling without holding Shift, see what happens. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Resetting scale options fix it. Nice. Yeah, so this is something like whenever any of you run into like a manipulator tool not working the way it's supposed to, go into those tool options and reset them. So like, oh, the move tool, it's snapping in a weird way, or it's not moving things correctly. Go in here, hit reset. It's a very nice thing to do. There's a lot of times when it's sometimes just a hotkey gets pressed or some button gets pressed and changes something in here. And it can be super frustrating, especially when like snaps get turned on. So here, this is the last key we were editing. I know this is basically where I want this to be. At this point, we've got these two keys here that kind of don't work quite well. So what I'm going to do is I'm looking at the hips and I'm going to find kind of these key points. So for example, here when she reaches back, is the rotate Y working here? Is that what I want? I think pretty much that's good. And then as she comes through here, let's see, do I want to smooth that out? Probably. Make this nice smooth round motion. Perfect. So at this point, what I can do is ease this through a little bit more. So I'm going to take these and just ease them out a little bit right there. Now we get a nice smooth motion in the hips. And maybe let's kind of pull this down just a little bit more. Okay. Now she comes through here. Her legs come back through. And here we're breaking that sympathetic motion. Or I shouldn't say we're breaking it, but we're not just following what the leg is doing. So the leg is going back, the blue leg, which means that the hip should be going back as well. If we were to go like 1-to-1. But the leg isn't reaching back, it's just kind of stepping back. And as she's coming through here, she's straightening her hips in order to look screen left. So I'm not going to worry about just, oh, the foot's moving back, the hips have to move back. As long as the leg isn't like stretching, the hips can kind of reset in a gentle way here. So always be wary when you're doing stuff like this. It is not a like solid gold rule that, oh, one thing moved, so I must do this connection. It's when it's appropriate. So here we get this big kick back. That's definitely going to have the hips move back here. And I'm definitely going to have to adjust one of my translates here. It's not quite working. I'm looking at it from more of a top view. And then here, I kind of want the hips as she takes the weight here. I think I want those hips to feel like they kind of get pushed a little bit more. So right here, takes the weight, and then we push forward there. Maybe that's a little too much. Comes through, and then this is gonna ease in. And actually, yeah. So let's get that final position in place. Where do I want those hips to be right at the end? Interesting. Let me look at my gimbal tool. Okay, this is going to be a problem. So my rotate Y at this point is starting to get some gimbal lock. Okay. Does that happen throughout the rest of the shot? No. Okay. So I'll need to fix this. If I want to make it so my animation is easy to read and nice and clean, this gimbal lock is going to make my life a nightmare. Because I'm not... Basically at the end, I want these hips to hit and then rotate, almost like they're pivoting off of the one supporting leg. But because of the gimbal lock here, I'm not going to get it. You can see there's no attribute or manipulator here that's going to rotate in the direction I need. So this is going to be a nightmare, a literal nightmare to try and polish. So essentially what I need to do is, let me actually find out what's causing that gimbal lock. It would be the rotate Y. Yeah, it's a little bit of, what is causing it? Let me zero this out a little bit and see what we get. Okay, yeah, it's that rotate Y. It's causing the rotate X to screw up, and then the rotate Z. And because we're tilting the hips so much, it's just going to be a pain. So how do we fix this? Yeah, I'm assuming the rotation order is kind of a little weird for this specific rotation. But luckily, there is this cog control right here, or the secondary cog, which I could use as a way to split these. Now, essentially what I need to do is just figure out which control would be best to put onto that control. I'm thinking, let's see, which one would be best? I'm going to just copy one of these curves and place them on the other control. I could do the rotate Y. But do I want to do rotate Y or one of the others? Yeah, secondary controllers are your friend. A good rig should have these secondary controllers. It makes life so much easier. Let's do the rotate Y. We'll see how the rotate Y works. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this curve, edit, copy, and then let's go to the beginning here. And how do I want to do this the easiest way? I can just mute this. So let's go to frame. Let's see. Frame 0. I'm going to zero out the rotation Y. Right click, mute selected. So that basically makes it so that it's not going to be evaluated anymore. So now as we go through this, there's no rotate Y. It's just facing forward the whole time. Now let's actually look at this control here and see how our gimbal is working. So that's good. No gimbal lock happening now. Now the rotate Z is just, or is it, wait a second. What is going on? Watch my manipulator here. Okay. Is that tilts up? Is it just too much here? Let me repose it. Zero that out. And then little tilt there. Little tilt there. Okay. Okay. So I'm just gonna have to repose this ending here a little bit. So this is where having a play blast or a previous version of your shot is nice. So let me actually open up a play blast here that I had saved. So this is the pose that I had right there. So I can use this and kind of just look at it and go, okay, which way were the hips angled? And essentially just repose this. So a little to the side there, a little down there. Okay, so around there, we'll say. But first, let's get our rotate Y back in. So I'm going to go to my secondary control, rotate Y. I like to delete the keys just to make sure that I don't accidentally copy something that shouldn't be there. And then let's paste this in. And I want to paste it from my current frame, so frame 1. I want to insert it. This way it gets exactly the same values that it was at before. And I don't want to connect it. I want to just place it where it was supposed to be. So paste. There we go. So now let's see how our animation looks. Is it correct? Yeah, for the most part, it's pretty good. There's going to be areas that we're going to have to clean up because of the rotations now. But at the end, yeah, those poses are going to have to be fixed. Let's see. Let's clean that up now. Okay, rotate X and Z. Let's just copy these over. X and Z. Copy. Copy. And then here, this should ease. Okay. Luckily, I haven't adjusted my rotate X and rotate Zs yet, so I have to clean all those up anyway. There we go. So now, at the very end, I can just select my secondary control here, the rotate Y. Let's get that rotate Y twisted where I want it to be. So whoop, right around there. And then rotate Y. Oops, wrong control. Rotate Y. Hips come forward, and I just want it to ease to a stop here. I'll just select these, ease them out, something like that. And there we go. Now we get that nice rotation in there, nice and easy. And all we have to do is clean up the other rotations. And Godsblade, hey, how's it going? I saw you on the Agora stream. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. I have the same issue with the time dragger tool. Time dragger. I'm not sure what time dragger tool you mean. Do you mean the K hotkey? So you just hold down K and then click and drag, and you can scrub through your timeline that way. Or the so if it's the K hotkey, that might be a hotkey issue because it's just the letter K. There's no options for it or anything. With the K hotkey, are you middle mouse dragging or clicking and dragging? Middle mouse drag, you can see nothing's going to happen. Left click and drag is going to be the one that lets you scrub through. Playblast wise, is there a way to make it save every playblast that you take without having to go to preferences and changing the name? Yeah, you just have to go into the playblast options and make sure save to file is turned on. Now by default, the main thing that's going to happen is unless you browse for a certain location, it's just going to save it into your Maya playblast file, like the default Maya setting somewhere on your computer. So you do have to go in here and set what it's going to save as. That's just kind of part of it. It's not going to be able to kind of incremental save the play blasts. So unfortunately, you do have to go in and set which file needs to be saved out. So let's go back through this, and figure out what's going on here, because now my hips are going to be a little wonky. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm just trying to look at my one rotation, the rotate Y, and see if it makes sense. Make sure that there's no weirdness that got transitioned through. I think I want to ease that out just a little bit here. Then oops, through. There we go. This pose is definitely going to have to be pushed. Her body is leaning too far forward now because we adjusted our other rotations. Ugh, look at that. So let's actually get this pose kind of in place here. So this is again where that old play blast, I've got it on my other monitor. I'll just look at that and use it as a guide. And get that character balanced back out again. Okay. So let's start going through. Don't need to see frame 0 here. There we go. Can you scrub through your weight shift again? Sure. So right through here. And actually, what's going on here? See that? There's a control that's... Something is shifting here. What is it? Doesn't look like I have any keys. So let's just select everything. Look for a key that's going on here. Now, actually, a thing I should double check is I have enable stepped preview turned on. Let's turn that off and see. Yeah, that's what I thought. So enable step preview is really nice. It basically allows you to just see the shot, even though it's in splines, you can see it in step mode. But there are times when you're going to get these little weird hitches. So right there, the body is moving. That's because there are some keys and settings in the rig that most likely are being affected by that step preview being tweaked. Honestly, it doesn't bother me too much right now because I'm just skipping through, but I will have to be very careful of that. So always be very careful with enable stepped preview. For this rig so far, it seems to be working pretty well, but when you are working on other rigs, I've had some rigs they just essentially explode when you use that. So always be careful. Let's see, why do you use the snap view mode? I've never heard of it before. Snap view? I'm not sure what you mean by snap view. Do you mean like the stepping through like this? So I'm just stepping through. Oh, enable stepped preview. Because I want this to be animated in a step mode kind of way, it makes it easier to just kind of look at it quickly. But I still want to be able to see my curves in the graph editor to make sure I get the nice ease ins and out. If you switch your curves here to stepped preview, it's harder to see the flow of the curves and to see the kind of how much they're easing in and out. At least for me, it's just kind of, you have to try and visualize a little bit more compared to this, where you can see how smooth things are looking. So I like to be able to see the smoothness of the curve, but without having all the in-betweens kind of getting in my way just yet. So yeah, that's essentially the main reason. Okay. So at this point now, we just need to clean up our curves here. And I'm using my old play blast to get an idea of where things were going. Let's kind of find some... Oops. I need to reset my range. Okay. So essentially, I've just got the Play Blast open on my other monitor, and I'm just looking at it to make sure that these poses are reading correctly, that I haven't had any huge explosions in my animation. And then from there, like this one right here, this pose looks, yeah, that's definitely off. Needs to be straighter. Okay. There we go. Now, why is this happening? The joy of having to clean up a curve after you have to copy everything out. Okay, that's not so bad. She kind of pops a little bit here. So I might want to drag the body a little bit more. But that could be the spine. You can see how the spine kind of feels a little stiff right there. I think I can overlap the spine right through that section. See, sometimes I have one key that goes to 4.99 and I can't snap it to frame 5 or it deletes it. Is that my bug? No. Essentially what happens is sometimes you're going to snap keys or scale keys and then there's going to be no room for a key to snap properly. And will try to put it on like 4.99 in order to keep the key in there. Essentially, if you start getting those, you just need to delete those keys. If they're not snapping properly and you already have a key on frame 5, just delete the key on frame 4.99. Let's see, would it not have been easier to bake one axis rotation from main to secondary? Yeah, that probably would have been the smart thing to do. So what I should have done here is I should have baked out all my animation, used a locator, and then rebaked it onto the individual controls. That would have made sure that my animation stayed the way it was, and I wouldn't have to now worry about, wait, what's changing, what's not, what's kind of screwed up. It would make my life a whole lot easier. At this point, though, because my hip rotations, like I could undo and just redo it again. Like I could do that, but my hip rotation was messed up to begin with. My rotate X and Z, I needed to redo a lot of it. So I'd rather just go through and fix it. Now, what am I looking for? Time slider. That's it. I want this to auto update all my shots. So update view all. This way, when I'm updating this, it's updating in all the viewports. And baking is a way of taking animation that is controlled by something like a constraint, for example, and baking it out into keyframe animation, making it so that it's editable. So you can take animation that is procedural or generated in some other way and turn it into keyframe animation. That is essentially baking. So in this case, like I said, I could bake things out. That would save time in a way, but because of the situation I'm already in with this and the kind of like things aren't working yet anyway, it's not going to save me too much time in this case. Let's see. What are the black lines? Those are the buffer curves. Those are showing me where the curves used to be, which is very nice. I love buffer curves. They essentially allow me to have kind of a super undo button. Okay. Let's think through this. So let's focus on the rotate Z first. So that's going to be the tilting side to side of the character. And let's actually set this to object mode so I can see which axis it's going to go in. Or actually, no, let's do it on the gimbal. So this is going to be just the tilt side to side of the character globally in this view here. So essentially what I want to have happen is as she comes through, we tilt the hips over to the side. That's good. The hips tilt over as she's putting her weight into this leg. And then at this point, it should start to tilt back because she's putting weight into this leg here. And we want that weight shift to come through. So that should start reversing right here. I'm not going to be looking at the head. The head's going to start being a little weird. And actually, let's do it this way as well. Because we talked about baking before. I'm going to start changing some of the way the head moves. But I want to make sure that I know where the head was before, so that I don't just lose all the animation and have to redo it from scratch. So I'm going to take this locator and I'm going to constrain it to the head. And let's see, actually let's constrain it to, I want to constrain it to a control that is like very visible on the character. Maybe let's do the neck instead, because that's like right in that section. It's going to give us the rotations of the body. So I'm going to take that neck control, take the locator, and then we'll go to constrain, parent, and we'll turn off maintain offset. This will snap that locator into place right there. Now it follows along. Great. So what I can do now is I can take this locator, I'll go to edit, keys, bake simulation, and this will take all of this constraint information where it's just following along and turn it into keyframes. So the important thing here is we want to set our range. So our time slider, that's good. Sample by, how many keys do we want to set on this? Since I'm animating on 4s for this shot, I can set this to 4s. It'll just follow along on 4s. I could even set this to 1s, but it's not necessary. So we'll do that. I could also turn on Smart Bake, which would potentially get it correct. Smart Bake, basically Maya will determine when it needs a key, when it doesn't. Since I'm animating on 4s, we'll just sample by 4 and we'll hit bake. Now it'll go through, and that locator now, you can see it still follows along, but it is animated. It is keyed right through here, which means that I can now adjust my base animation and that locator stays where it was. This gives me a way to look at where my old poses were, and when I do big changes, for example here, where let's say I want to shift these hips over a little faster right here, I will be able to use that locator as a way of determining where I need to put the spine back into position. So that's going to be a very helpful little thing for me later on, just kind of using it as a backup. So she comes through, puts her weight into that leg. Let's not shift the weight too much just yet. Comes through up onto that hip, and we get this weird kind of rotation going on here, which I'm not a fan of. I think we're going to push this up here, and then here I want this leg to be active. She's lifting it up to kind of kick out, so I don't mind that it's raising up here, but we should probably ease it through. Let's kind of ease that out here, so we get that rotation there. And actually, let's see if we can exaggerate this a little bit. So I want this to have a big shift here. So we feel that weight kind of pressing into the body there. This is going to just add a little bit more weight into the character. There. Now here I could keep bending the body this way, which I probably should because of this pose. So we bend this through. This hip is breaking right here. Right there. Your hip can't bend like that. So I'm going to have to adjust that foot, which this was one of those poses that I wanted to adjust anyway. So that's fine. I'm just looking at the weight shifts, trying to make sure that they make sense and move in a believable way. Now she's pushing through. As this foot comes through, it's pushing down on the ground, which is going to start pushing that hip up on that side. So let's clean that up there. I could probably push this a little bit more to get that weight shift in there. Right through there. Since that leg is the one pushing the character back up, I want to feel that push through there. And then here we get this kind of little hop. Well, the thing here is that since the character is kind of hopping up, sure, this leg is pushing up, but it's not going to be a huge change. So I think I can keep this a little bit more flat on this side. So up, and then let's kind of bring this back over. I want this flow from the leg into the stomach and then bend back. The way the character was before, it feels like there's kind of this break too soon in the body. So let's clean that out. Get that nice line of action in there. And kind of clean that up right through there. As she comes forward, let's get that hip to, let's see, bounce. Here, this is where I definitely want to feel a nice weight shift. So let's kind of bring this back up a little bit here, and then have that hip kind of drop on this side as we come to a stop here. And is this too far? Yeah, that's pretty good there. So let's just ease this out here. Let's see. See how it feels. Okay, so I want that nice swing in the hips right there, right at the end. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's do the rotate X now. So similar, let's actually get that last pose in place here. Want that to tilt up a little bit more here, and then swing down. So get that nice roundness in that motion. Okay, so rotate X is the tilting forward and back of the character. This is going to be the trickier one for now, because I would need to get the spine working as well, but as long as I kind of clean this up a little bit, we'll be good. The character tilts forward as they go forward. I think here we can ease this out a little bit, get that momentum and weight of the body pulling through as they stand up. One thing I always look for when I'm doing the kind of forward rotation of the body is looking at the line of the hip and especially the back of the leg. You very rarely want to pinch the hip back this way. That's very hard to do on the body. There will be moments when you can do that, but overall it's usually better to try and keep that smooth. We can bend our legs forward, not so much back. Okay, comes through. Here we're getting this nice straight pose. I essentially want to get the weight of the body should be pulling up as if like there's someone pulling up on her shirt almost. I want that feeling in there. So let's get the hips kind of in position here. And then let's push that back a little bit, ease that out. Comes forward. Yeah, that's too much there. Ease that. A lot of this will come down to animating the spine after. Okay. Now here, as she's shifting back, I probably want to ease those hips back there so that she stays balanced. Because her hips are moving forward, her body has to tilt backwards in order to keep herself balanced. Now here, the body's really not going to be doing too much side to side right there. So, comes through, shifts her weight. The weight will shift through. And then right here, let's ease that out a little bit. A big change right here, so let's kind of push that up. So we get that kind of bouncing feeling in the hip. See that? Where you can feel that rotation going on. Then let's try this. I'm gonna overshoot it. Something like that. Okay. I think that works pretty well. You'll notice that the curve does not look pretty. That's fine. This is one of those moments where, because of all her weight shifts, that curve is not going to be perfectly smooth. It shouldn't be. Otherwise, it would mean that the hips aren't working correctly. Now, let's look at it from the front view, or the camera view, I should say. Okay, there's a few spine pops and whatnot, but I think overall the hips are working pretty well now. Here we go. So, hips are pretty good. Yay! And yeah, animating on 4s means you're animating every 4 frames. So every 4th frame. So 1, 5, 9, 13, just like that. Okay. There we go. So we've got those hips in place. That's pretty good, I think, for now. Okay. So at this point, there's a few things that we can kind of refine with the feet. Let's do that super quick. Specifically, it's going to be making sure that the feet don't freeze at any point. So for example, here we notice that the ankle just kind of pops right there. Well, it could probably start to move over and rotate a little bit earlier. So we start getting that nice connection in that foot. It doesn't feel like it's just locked off and then snaps. Let's see, can we sometimes break the rule of animating every 4 frames? Oh yeah, definitely. Animating on 4s or 1s or 2s, whatever you're animating on, it doesn't mean that you always have to have everything on 4s the entire way and nothing else. It just means that the majority of the time everything's animated on 4s. But there will be times when you will need to have more keys. So you'll put one section on 2s or even 1s. There might be times when you don't need a lot of keys, especially if you're animating a hold. You don't need a lot of keys for a hold. So you can just create a little bit, or you can have most of it animated on 4s, and then for the hold, it could be animated on 8s or even 12s. If you're animating in 2D, you can just have the character stay still for like half the shot. There is no hard and fast rule that, well, you're animating on 4s now, you're stuck there. You have to animate everything on 4s the whole time, nothing else. So yeah, you do what's best for your shot at that time. I'm just going to ease this in here. So we get that little bit of residual motion in that foot. So step, here we feel the ankle roll, that's good. I might add a little heel swivel right at the start. So as she comes through, is it heel swivel? Is that the one I want? Yeah. So as she comes through here, why is this actually, that should just be zeroed out. There we go. So as she pulls through, I want to have just a little bit of a feeling of the toes sliding through. She's putting her weight into her heel. And I want just the tiniest adjustment there. Just a little bit. Then she shifts her weight onto her toes. That's good. Okay. The other foot feels good. Picks up. I'm getting a tangent right here. See how the toes are kind of, they're just connecting ever so slightly right there. So I'm going to take this foot position and just adjust it ever so slightly. Let's do that in X. Or there we go. So just take this and doop, push it back in just a little bit. So now we get that overlapping form. Okay. So watching the feet. I love doing foot animation. Foot and hand animation is some of my favorite, just because you can really get some nice dynamic motions in there. So I kind of want the toes to drag a little bit more here. Okay. Now as it goes through, this foot, you can see how the toes feel like they're breaking and they're dipping down. I'm not sure what's causing that, but I definitely want to check that out. So why is this snapping? Something in the viewport is not updating correctly. Because this should be sliding that foot up and down, but it's just going crazy. Why? So if the viewport is causing issues, one thing to always double check is try to switch from the evaluation mode from parallel to DG. See what happens. Okay, that didn't solve it, so at least I know that isn't the issue. Set it back. Okay. My manipulator is set to object mode. We talked about this earlier. Try resetting your tool just to make sure that that's not the cause. No. Interesting. So you have already done a retiming pass. I haven't done a retiming pass. I'm going to retime it afterwards. So it really depends on the shot. There's not like one specific workflow that I'll use that'll like determine everything. In this case, I want to do a refining pass on the poses just to make sure that I get the poses to look good the way I want them to. Let's save this just to make sure that I don't lose anything here. I might have to reopen the file. Let's look at the other foot, see if that's what's working. Yeah, weird. Like, it's just snapping around instead of peeling off the ground. Interesting. As a test, let me unmute this attribute. It's going to kind of break the hips for now. But I just wanted to see if... No. Okay, at least it's not that's causing the issue. Interesting. I don't have animation layers, so that's not going to be the issue. What oh what is causing this foot to not move correctly? Let's see, let me try component. No, that's not gonna work. Okay. Worst case, let's just do a quick, we saved it already. Let's actually save it again just to make sure. I'll close it off and open it again. Just to make sure that we're not running into any scene issues. Okay, new scene. Let's open it up. And another thing you can always do is, I've got another version of Maya open up here. I always do this for demos just in case I need to demo something. But let's reopen that rig in a new file just to make sure that there's nothing going on with Maya itself. So I want to just double check that Maya isn't causing any weird issues. And actually, I should also double check. It could be stepped preview. Yep. Stepped preview is causing issues. So this is why, like I talked about stepped preview before, how you have to be very careful. I didn't realize that it was screwing up the feet. Yeah, the feet look way better already. I was wondering, I thought I did more work on the feet. Okay. So we can't use stepped preview with these feet. So before I hit play next time, I'm going to have to set everything to step mode manually. Okay. Well, at least we know that is the issue now. Stepped preview. Step preview basically makes it so that right now everything is in splines. You can see that it's actually all on ones. But if you turn on stepped preview, it'll only play the frames that you have keys on. So it's almost like putting it in step mode, which is really nice, but almost every rig that I've used has something that doesn't work well with step preview, which really sucks because it makes it so that you can't really use it for a lot of situations. I kind of want to add a little twist to the foot here. Let's use a little toe twist. or let's see, toe swivel. That's what I want. Yeah, there we go. So you just have to be very careful of it. Is it a way to visually have stepped, but your curves in the graphic are still spline? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Okay. Now the feet come through here, and this feels not bad. I'm not a fan of how the feet feel very even. See how they're almost exactly the same height there? I don't like that. So let's kind of straighten this out and get that leg nice and straight too. This will create that nice switch. See how now, just by doing that, we get straight leg bent, bent leg straight. And it creates this nice visual rhythm to the shot versus what we had before, which is bent leg, bent leg. And it creates that nice push off, and now the feet feel uneven. You get that really nice contrast between the two now. I think we can drag this foot a little bit more, just to kind of create a better push off with that. Okay, this foot, that ankle is rotating a little too much. And then it comes through. Pushes forward. Good. This just needs to come up off the ground a little bit so it doesn't cut into the floor. Nice. Okay. Comes through. See how this foot just kind of feels totally frozen, this whole section? I don't really like when things like that happen. So there's a few things I can do. One is as she places her foot down, think of what she's going to contact first. So she's, in this case, probably going to contact with the ball of her foot first, which means that as her foot lands, I could have the ball of the foot twist right there. So we get a little bit of a twist in there. And then at this point, she's now probably putting her weight. Let's see. Where's her weight going to be? Probably still in the ball of the foot. So let's ease that just a little bit. So just a little bit of motion there. You get a little twisting motion right through there. At this point, let's roll the ankle just a bit. Rotate. Just a little bit like that. So you get that nice fleshy feeling right into the foot. Keep going with it. And then she picks up. And here, just as she's about to lift her weight, she's putting that foot down. This foot, maybe we'll use a little bit of heel swivel and just have it start to twist as she's about to lift up that foot up off the ground. So something like that. Now, that foot doesn't look dead. Maybe that's a little too much of a pop there. Just a little bit. Now, the big thing is you just don't want the foot to feel like it's just sliding constantly. So this is where it's just, you just want the tiniest feeling of motion. We're not trying to get a whole, like, complicated movement through here. The other thing I can also do is maybe on this frame, have the foot contact on the edge of the foot. Just a little bit more. So now we get a little bit more of a push down there. Something like that. So it just keeps that foot alive through that section. Now this foot contacts down, that's good. To just add a little bit more weight, I'm going to have the foot slide. So it contacts and then slides back a little bit. You're not going to really see it here because of the way the foot pass through. Yeah, those hands, oh, they are bugging me so bad, especially since they're not posed out. It's just like, oh no, it's so bad. I'm looking forward to starting to pose them out. I might even scale them down a little bit. We'll see. Okay, now this foot contacts here. And similar thing, it just kind of feels very flat. It just contacts and freezes and stays. So how can we kind of exaggerate this a little bit? Well, one, I kind of feel like the feet are a little too close together. Let me look at the weight shift here. It's not bad. I can probably take the translate X here and just nudge it a little further. Then let's say a little further forward as well. Okay. I'm trying to get a nice silhouette here where the ankles don't feel like they're overlapping in a weird way. Yeah, that feels pretty good. Okay. So pushes down. I think what I can do here is start to have this foot, because it's pushing up for the jump, let's start rolling that heel up a little bit. And what that's going to do is give us more room to push the character up for the jump as well. So I can take my translate Y here and just go a little higher and still get that nice straight leg. And it keeps the foot more alive too. Okay, now the feet move in, they land. Okay, what can we do? We've got the rotation of the feet going in, that's good. I think here, let's maybe bring that heel up just a tad so we can feel the landing of both feet. Just make it a little uneven. So right now they feel like they're moving about the same amount. Let's see what I can do about that. Yeah, so something like that. So one foot you can definitely see moves a lot more than the other. So even though the timing is similar where they're both contacting on the same frame, we can offset that if we added more keys. It doesn't feel like they're just doing the same thing. And then let's add a little slide on the back foot. Just a little. So you can feel that little bit of a scoot back there. I could even add just a tiny, let's try this, a tiny bit of rotation in there as well. Okay, now the feet push forward. One goes up, one slides back, that's good. The one that's sliding back, I definitely want to make sure that the toes rotate as they get pulled back, which they do. Nice. Now this foot, as it's coming forward, let's angle it a little bit better. Should kind of come in here. The ankle should line up with the knee most of the time. So this is where the manipulator comes in handy. Just look at your leg from the front view, and then you can see how that X manipulator isn't lining up with the leg. If I do that, now that ankle should be in a nice straight line. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it gives you an idea of how the ankle is kind of lined up there. And you can see here see how that foot just feels really flat there. If I pull that in now, so this is the rotate. Actually, I think I've got gimbal lock here. So it's going to be a little bit of both. Let's see. Yeah, gimbal lock. So if I want to do this, what would be the easiest way? Since the toes are touching on the ground, let me undo that, reset the foot back, and instead of using that rotation, I'll do the same thing, but I'm going to use this control and tilt it. This will just avoid that whole gimbal lock issue. I'd rather not have to fight gimbal lock to get the nice arc in the ankle. Oh, take care, Shun. See, too bad it's quite late here. I can't keep my eyes open. Yeah, get some rest. And thanks for dropping by. Your foot motion is really sick. I like the details you put in this early in the process. Footwork is one of those things that I am very passionate about, oddly enough, in animation. When I see animations where the feet just kind of sit there and don't really do anything, it's such a wasted opportunity, because you can see how it's not much. We're still in step mode, but it just makes the shot come alive. Like, if we just watch the shot here, let's try to make sure we don't see the hands come through too much, and let's just kind of scrub through. And actually, no, we'll just frame through. Those feet feel interesting to look at. If I can look at a shot and just look at the feet moving through and feel like there's a character in there, I'm really happy. If I look at this shot and the feet are just doing that and then they'll slide over and nothing else, not super interesting. So yeah, foot animation to me is one of those things that you can really push and should really try to push in your shots. Now, one thing I'm noticing here is I think I can push my rotations a little bit more on the foot. Specifically, I think it's the... What am I using to rotate here? It should be that I rotate Y. Okay, good. So I feel like this pose here could be more exaggerated so that we feel a little bit more of a visual change in the angle from here to here. And then even here, I think I can push this in a little bit so the feet kind of don't feel parallel to each other. You can even see it here, how the feet are starting to point in. Okay. I would like one more frame of like a slide here, probably. So let's just take this, nudge it back just a little. And let's push that rotation a little bit. Too much. It's essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to avoid pixel death. Pixel death is when an object stays so still for so long that it just dies on screen. It doesn't feel alive anymore. So trying to avoid that as much as possible. Now this foot right here, I'm not a fan of like this motion right there. How it goes up at this angle and then it just kind of stays there. So I'm going to try to exaggerate this. The knee also on this frame I think is not working. Let's see. Yeah, it needs to start to come in here. Let's actually look at how that affects the pose. Yeah, that's better. Comes up. And I think let's try to bring it back down slightly. So this way it goes up, and let's go a little further. Or actually, let's try to push the bend in the toes a little bit so that we get a little bit of a straightening happening in there. And that ease here should be a little bit more of an ease. Yeah, so see how it's going up and then down and then up again? I'm not a fan of that. But let's actually just push this ease in here. A little bit more. There we go. I wonder if maybe I take this foot here, slide it back just a little bit so it doesn't lock right away. Yeah, that feels a little better already. 85 frames. It's been what, 2 to 4 hours on it so far. Let's see, we've been animating today for about 2 hours, just trying to polish up the hips and get everything else working. So yeah, about 2 hours so far. Yesterday we did about an hour and a half to 2 hours because we were doing a lot of talking as well. So it's been about, I would say, like full animation, focused animation, maybe about 4 hours. No. Yeah, about 3 to 4 hours total. Oh, take care, Animation Giant. And Najim, hello. Hope you're doing well. So yeah, we're starting to get like into hour 4 right now, and at this point we've pretty much got the hips done and the feet pretty much done at this point. And am I using reference? I am using some reference, but it's mostly images, not so much like a full video. So I just kind of followed. Oh, I definitely don't want to watch this in splines. I'm just trying to get the feeling. So there's certain poses I really want to hit, and then the rest is just kind of body mechanics. Let's see how this feels. There we go. So right now we haven't really done the body yet, so the body's going to feel really strange in certain areas, especially at that last bit. But I think the hips are working pretty well. Let's see how it feels from the side here. Yeah, not bad. Definitely we're starting to get a better feel for that weight in the end there, which I like. Hey, you got my eye surgery. I removed my specs. Oh, so you don't need glasses anymore? Nice. I hope the surgery went well and that the recovery went well too. I know it can be very painful. Can't have bright lights and things like that. But I hope it all went well. See, I noticed something here. As the foot crosses over back here, I feel like that foot is moving too far back right there. I think I can bring it forward. Oh, translate said. A little bit there. So it doesn't go quite so far back. Doesn't really matter too much, honestly, but okay. Got that. Now, one thing I need to do is reposition this knee here. I'm not a fan of the silhouette that this last pose is creating. So I'm just going to move the knee out a little bit. And I think part of it is also my rotate Y. Oh no, wait, is the arm. So undo. Let's get that arm out a little bit so it's not cutting into the body. Right there. Okay, yeah, so that helps get that silhouette back in. But I still think the knee is kind of a little weirdly out here. So I might just kind of bring this back a little bit. Try to make that negative space a little less. And I think the body also needs to be rotated back a little bit more to push the line of action a little bit. Let's get this knee out there a little bit more. something like that. Let's see. When should you use stepped versus splines in the graph editor? Whenever you want. There is no hard, fast rule. It's whatever works best for your situation. For me, I usually animate in splines. So I will mostly be animating in spline mode the whole time. I almost never use step mode. I'm animating this on 4s because I want that anime feeling to it. Anime is typically animated on 4s, typically. Sometimes it's 2s and 3s. For action scenes, they'll animate on 1s. But in this case, I just really want to capture that very specific feeling. So in this case, I really want to animate on 4s for that one specific reason. Otherwise, I don't really go into step mode too often. Okay. Just trying to clean up my curves here, make sure that the knee doesn't have any weird pops or wiggles. Okay. But yeah, in order to like when you're working in step or spline, it really is just whatever is best for that situation that you're in. There's no hard and fast rule. And once you switch to one, there's nothing that says you can't switch back to another. So for example, I might be animating in step mode and then at some point, oh wait, I should switch to splines just to see how something feels. So for example, let's say I'm working predominantly in step mode, but you know, this this portion here, how does that feel? Is it actually easing correctly? Okay, let's go into splines right there. Okay, that looks pretty good, but this feels a little flat, so I'm going to tone this down, make that curve feel nicer. Okay, let's set that back into step mode. So you can always do that. Or vice versa, you're working in splines and so there's some section that it's not reading correctly. Go back into step mode, make sure your poses feel good, then go back into splines. Okay. So I think we're getting this feeling pretty good. Okay. Let's call that for now. Oh, wait. I feel... What am I seeing here? I'm feeling a slip in the feet. I think it's just a visual illusion. As the foot comes back here, the way the foot is overlapping right there with each other is creating the feeling of a slip. So let's try to exaggerate this a little bit. I might bring that foot back here. So now we see that the other foot actually is not slipping. Let's lower that a little bit. I'm trying to push the line of action in that leg. And let's see about dragging that a little bit more. Get the angle of the foot in there. That's going to help. Yeah, that feels better. So we're keeping that silhouette clean. And then let's watch the knee here. I could bring it up, which is technically correct, but if I want to push the line of action, keeping the knee out like that is going to help. And there we go. Let's hit play, see how those feet feel. Yeah, that feels better. It gets rid of that slipping feeling. Essentially what was happening is because both feet kind of overlapped each other too quickly, it was creating the feeling that both feet were sliding back instead of one sliding and then the other sliding. They just both kind of moved back together. The rig does have a hand scale feature. So if you select, I believe it's this control, you have hand scale right down there. So I might actually scale the hands down. I feel like they're kind of big, but at the same time, I do want to see if I can get good hand poses at this size, kind of keep that cartoony feeling. We'll see. I can always scale the hands down later. What is the advantages of working in step mode? Is it easier to change? It's when you're working in step mode, you're just seeing the poses that you've done. So nothing here is anything that Maya has done. It's all me. There's nothing else. When you go into splines, that's adding in-betweens that Maya is creating. And it's sometimes hard to see like where something doesn't feel good. Is it something that I did? Or is it because Maya is doing something that is ruining my shot? So by keeping it in step mode, you can just make sure that, okay, it's everything here is because of me. And if something doesn't feel right, I'm the one that has to fix it. Like it's just based on the poses that I've done. So that's what I like about step mode is you hold yourself accountable. Okay. Let's get this spine in place here. Okay. Yeah, that's what I figured. There's some areas here that have gotten unsynced with the spine. Yeah. I almost feel like it might be easier to reanimate the spine, but we'll see. So as the character comes through, we want this nice drag. Now this is actually something very important. Like at this point, I'm animating the spine. I don't really need to see the head. I don't even need to see the hair, which is kind of getting in the way. Let's try this out. I'm going to come through here and I'm actually just going to turn off the head geometry as well as the hair geometry. We don't need to see the bow. And then let's turn off all the facial controls too. And I think, is there a head control? Well, we don't need to see the, let's see, which one is it? Hair, secondary mouth. All hair. Yeah, don't need to see those. And then, yeah. So we can simplify our view here. Now we don't see that head. It's a little cleaner as we watch this here. It's a little easier to see what the body is doing now without that head swinging around. It's also easier to see that locator, which is the thing that was showing me my old animation, to make sure that that's actually working correctly. Okay. So in your animations, don't be afraid to hide sections if you don't need to see them. So right now, I just want to work on the spine. I read in the Animation Survival Kit book, there's no secret of lip sync. I didn't understand it. It's on page number 314. Or there is a secret of lip sync. I don't have the book with me right now. I'm not sure what you mean by there is a secret of lip sync. It's been a while since I've read that book. I've done a few demos on lip sync, so if you want to check those out, you definitely can. They should still be uploaded on Twitch. Essentially, lip sync is just understanding the phonemes. That's the big part. Oh, he told a secret that I didn't understand. Let's see. Do I have it here? No. I think Cameron has the book right now. Let's see. Do I have an ebook? I think I used to have an ebook of it. But do I still have it? Let's see. When you play Blast, do you switch to auto tangents or stay in splines? For this shot, I would stay in step mode because I'm animating in step mode. I would just keep it in whatever it is you're animating on. You don't have to switch to auto tangents or splines. If you're animating auto tangents, stay in there. If you're animating splines, stay in there. If you're animating linear, stay in there. Whatever it is that you want to, however you want to view your animation. Let's see. Where? Books. I've got a folder on my computer with a bunch of ebooks that I've got, but I forget where it is now. I'll have to look that up later. But let's get that spine in here. If we can get that spine in, I feel like that's going to be a good spot. So as the spine comes through, this feels good. I like that line of action we're getting right through there. Feels nice. The character should probably lean forward here. See how the whole body shifts back? I think we can drag that spine back there. So see how now the hips lead, but the body stays behind a little bit. I think we can do that. And then here, the body is snapping back and then holding. So let's kind of bring that body forward, and then it can overlap through that motion. Let's see, right through there. Another thing that can help here is you can see how there's this white shirt. It's not really showing us the rotation of the body too well. Well, on this rig, I can come in here and turn on, I think they have a, where is it? Is it the top? Yeah, I can turn this on, and this is going to help me see the rotations just a little bit more clearly because we have some actual detail going on here. So now we can see that rotation of the body a little bit more clearly. If you don't have something like that, so your character has this kind of just white shirt, no detail on there, go to shading, wireframe on shaded. And now you're going to be able to see the rotations a little bit more. If it's a little dense right in there, just zoom in a little bit and you'll be able to do that. You can also just constrain something to the chest or to the top of the neck, something that you can track as you're tweaking these rotations. Essentially, I want to make sure that as the character is rotating, we're getting this nice motion. So for example, here, see how we can feel that twist in that little yellow bow thing? But then here, it kind of stops. That feels a little weird to me. So I want to make sure that right here, it's not just freezing for no reason. So let's go through here, add a little bit more rotation there. Let that lead through. Make sure I'm looking at the shot from the side view as well. Always look at your shot from multiple views. Let's see. Milkcall told him the secret was to progress the action as you speak. Oh, so that basically means that as the character is speaking, there's a few ways you can look at it and a few meanings to it. But at least for me, one of the big things is that as characters are talking, they shouldn't just say their lines and do nothing else. So for example, a good example of this is if they're starting to get angry and they're sitting there and they go, "I'm angry." Well, does that show in the body? Does it show in their actions? Does it show in their frustration? No. And very rarely will characters actually just say, I'm angry and then be angry. Oftentimes they're going to be doing something, talking about something, and as they're talking, they're going to get more stressed and they're going to get a little bit more tense and just keep talking. But the action, their emotions, the things that they're doing is progressing. They are continuing to do something. They are not doing an action and now, okay, talk. And I'm talking and I'm sitting here doing nothing. And now I'm starting to go back into my actions after I stop my sentence. Hopefully that makes sense. You basically want to keep the character living and doing something as they speak. Very rarely do characters just stand and speak and say their line and nothing else. There should be something that is progressing in that in that moment. Either it's emotional or some sort of, there should be some progression. So yeah, I would check that out. Let's see, I'll open this up. 3:18 you said? Okay. Oh, it doesn't look like it's on 3:18. Let's see. Yeah, so exactly what I was saying. It's just there should be a progression to the character. There should be the character should be doing something and telling a story out of it. A line of dialogue is not just a line of dialogue and that's it. There should be a meaning to it. Okay, coming through here. Let's see how we can exaggerate this spine. Okay, yeah, there's definitely a twist here. See how that body just suddenly pops there? We're gonna have to clean that up a little bit. Maybe tone it down a little bit there. And then keep it going. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Give your characters life. They should be living in the scene, not acting in the scene and just kind of moving for no reason. Okay. Here, the character is going to start to try and balance themselves back out again. And then right here, I would love to try and push the body. See how the body just straightens up and then goes straight up there? Let's try to add a little bit more drag here. So as they come through, we'll push that line of action, that reversal there. And then as they come up, that's when we get that switch. And now we get that momentum of the body pushing through. So right now I'm just going through and trying to exaggerate my lines of action right through the pose. I'll clean up my graph editor in a second. The first thing I want to do is make sure that visually my poses look good. If I get stuck in the graph editor, essentially I'm going to just get locked into things that aren't super important. Is it okay to have one section animated and stepped while another is in splines? You could, but there's very rarely a reason for that unless there's a section that's just not working and you need to keep it in step mode just for that section. Usually, like if you're gonna have one, you're just gonna use the one. Otherwise, you end up changing the style of your animation. Let's see here. I want this section here. As the hip catches, I want kind of the feeling that the body comes in, hits the weight there, and then we get kind of a little bit of a reversal in here. Just a little bit. Like that. A little bit. Now, I'm gonna have to tone that down because you can see how that body is just moving a little too much right in there. Let's actually tone this down. Now, there is something here that... Let's see, how do I want to do this? So what I'm thinking now is we've got a lot of poses that don't quite line up here. I guess I could just clean this up manually. That'll be the easiest. So let's clean this up here. When I'm animating the spine, I don't like having offsets in my controls. I like everything to be animated kind of on the same rotations for the spine, at least on the first pass, because it makes it easier to create the offsets myself later. So for example here, there's definitely a control that's not doing what the others are doing. So I don't want that. That to me is, it would be weird because the spine is one unit. Unless I'm doing a very cartoony shot, I want that spine to move in a natural way. Let's see. Is the method used to make outlines for this character post-processing method or inverse hull method? That I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into the way they're doing it. I think it's basically I have two pieces of geometry and then one of them just has a surface shader to it. Okay, let's clean this up here. This doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm just going to copy paste this a little faster here. I could have just moved the keys, but okay, there we go. And now we can start coming in here and clean things up. Now I wonder how much gimbal lock we're going to get. So let me actually look at the gimbal here. Actually, not bad. I didn't think we would. Usually you don't get gimbal lock in the spine because the rotations are mostly coming from the hip. So essentially what I can do now is just go through and clean up our curves. Because I think I've got the main motion. Let's actually hit play and see how it feels. Trying not to look at the arms, just looking at the body. Yeah, that bounce back definitely feels much better now. It doesn't feel like the spine's just super stiff. From the side here, it feels pretty good. I still feel like there's too much of a pop, like right here. The character, their spine is going back, their hips are going forward, and then suddenly on this pose, they're kind of forward. But I think the issue is not with the spine. I think it's the rotation of the hips. Right here. Let's see. Hey, take care, buddy. And what playlist is this? This is just a random video game playlist from OC Remix. So a lot of it is Castlevania, I believe, and then there's a whole bunch of other games. I'm gonna try to add more songs to the playlist once I get some time. So let's go through here. So rotate Z, this is going to be the tilt side to side here. And right now we're getting this kind of weird, like, popping motion here. So I'm going to try and clean this up. So let's add a little bit more drag there. He comes up here. Let's push this over so we ease in. There shouldn't be a pop back right there. That feels a little weird. If anything, if she's doing this big change, see, I really want to push that line of action. Let's try to push the pose here. Yeah, I think part of it is my rotate Y of the hips needs to drag a little bit more. So let's kind of go back to our hips, and we need a little bit more rotate Z on this one. So lean that character back a little bit more. And there we go. So lean the character back a bit, and then let's take my rotate Y, start twisting it back here. Okay, go back into the spine. And let's see where we can push things. Yeah, let's push that. I can also push my rotate Y of the spine, I think, on this pose. Or sorry, rotate X. This one, I keep forgetting rotate X is the twist on this control. So right now it comes through. I want the arm to lead, that's good. It starts to twist. And here it's starting to twist back, which really shouldn't. If that arm is swinging through, the body is going to try to follow the arm right through there. So as the body gets to this point, it should have just kind of kept rotating. We shouldn't really have this reversal here, because that would be the arm swinging through, the body's reversing, and then swinging back. That doesn't really make sense. So I'm just going to take all of this and ease that in. Like that. It's going to simplify that spine motion and essentially avoid any wiggling in the spine. And Tara, hey, how's it going? I'm confused why you had 2 keys on each frame. You had to line them back up? Yeah, so all my spine controls, when I'm animating the spine, I like to keep them in line with each other. So I don't personally like it when the spine controls are offset from each other. If I'm animating all the spine controls at the same time, this is the FK spine, there is no reason why one part of the spine would rotate more than the other. So that's why I was snapping them together and moving them so that they're all lined up with each other. See, this is too much of a boring ease right there. Let's kind of move this into position and then ease these. There we go. So we've got that, and You know, because I keep selecting the spine and it's kind of a pain to select them and deselect them and reselect them, I'm just going to quickly make a quick select set here. So I select all the spine controls, go to sets, quick select set. We'll call this spine, and we'll add this to the shelf. So now I have a control right there. Click, there's my spine. If you have a GUI picker, you could use that. I don't usually use GUI pickers too often. I don't know why. It's just part of my workflow, I guess. Okay. So, comes through. Big rotation. There we go. Body comes through. As the arm comes up here, I want the body to start rotating back. So the body should lead the action here. So the twist of the body is going to lead that pull of the arm right there. So let's start doing that a little bit. I think it might be twisting a little too much right here. So let's pull that back. And then the arm comes through as the body comes to a nice ease here. So it's that nice lead and follow. Body's leading the action, and then the arm follows through. Okay. Now here, we're getting a snap in the body. Why? What would cause the body to change directions like this? Nothing. So I'm going to try and pull this back a little bit. So as the arm twists through, let that body just kind of stay forward. If anything, I might just reverse it a little bit here. Ease in as the body kind of settles a little bit. And then we can start going into this section. So I'm trying to think of what is going to happen with the body. I'm still trying to push my lines of action, my silhouette, all of that good stuff. But I'm also trying to make sure that things don't move for no reason. I think I might be able to push this. I just want a little bit more 3/4 on the pose here. So trying to push that nice ease there. In some overtime at the moment. Hopefully it's fun overtime. Okay, now you're going back there. The hand is swinging back. The arms I don't care about right now. Honestly, the arms are so bad. But one thing I do want is this section here, because they're reaching back, that's going to twist the body back there. So as the arm reaches back, I want to have that twist happen in there. But this time, because it's leaning back, I kind of want the arm to be the thing that leads the character back. So let's ease this in just a little bit. So something like that. And feel that body kind of get pulled back right there. Okay. And then here, it shouldn't stop. There's no reason for it to. Not fully. Okay. So that should simplify that motion, all the twisting of the body. Okay. Let's look at the next one. Let's do, I think we did most of the rotate Z. I think there's a few areas I want to double check. That's the twisting side to side. There's a lot of it. Hopefully it goes fairly quickly and doesn't last too long. Okay. So right through here, I like the drag of the body, but right there, the body feels a little stiff. I think this might be my rotate Y. Yeah, right there. So I want to keep that going. That momentum, this character's got a big head, so I don't want that momentum to just freeze for no reason. Okay. So you get dragged back. Rotate Y is that forward rotation. So at the very beginning here, see how the body just stays very stiff? What if we add just a little bit of drag here? So as the hips go forward, the spine kind of drags back just a little bit. Then as it comes through, we'll keep dragging it just a little. And then let it overlap right here as the hips change direction. Now it's leaning forward. Watching the spacing of the neck there. And then here, it suddenly snaps forward again. I think this might rotate Z. Let's drag it a little bit more. Okay. This might also be the hips. Yeah, there's something with the hips. The rotate X of the hips feels a little weird right here. I think it's this pose right there. We need to overshoot that. Yeah, that feels better already. Then here, let's take our spine. On this pose, push it forward. A little more this way. I really want that feeling of drag and then like pushing up right through there. So we get that nice momentum in there. Whoop, and then across. Interesting how it got all offset like this. Easy fix. There we go. So the character pushes through, drags, overshoots. I think let's overshoot the character here, and here we definitely need to drag that character back there. Feels weird that as their body is twisting, they're just kind of staying super stiff. We need to really push that so we get that nice shape in that body, that contrapposto. And we can also push the body back a little. Exaggerate that. Right now I'm just doing a quick pass to get the overall forms of the curves working. Oh, and looks like I was moving some keys on their own. Okay, let's fix that again. Okay. So, looking at the side here, see again, once we look at this body, see how stiff it feels, especially right there? If we bring this back, now that body is going to start overlapping. So we get that nice motion back, momentum, pulling through, trying to keep themselves balanced as they swing forward. We then get that weight shift in there as their whole body kind of swoops through and then bends forward. creates that nice organic feeling to the body instead of just this stiff, boring motion. And when do I use copied pairs? I use copied pairs if ever I have to do a hold for a character. So if a character just has to hold still for a moment, that's when you would use copied pairs. Since this character isn't really holding, and since I've already kind of posed out the holds myself, I don't need to use that in this segment. Let's ease that in right there. Ease in, drag. Swoop through. Okay, my rotate Z feels like it's doing something a little weird here. As the hips start to come up right there, I kind of want to push the rotate Z so that it keeps dragging. And we get a little bit more of a swoop in there. I want it to almost feel like the arm swing is what's going to cause the body to realign itself. So it drags back and the arm swings and then the body comes back up there. So trying to create this connected feeling through the motions and the anatomy. Now here the body kind of resets itself. Let's ease that in just a little bit. It was bouncing. And then here, we kind of fixed the end a little bit, but I still wanted to try and exaggerate things here. So let's see what we can do. As the character comes up, let's see if we can exaggerate that contrapposto in the hips here. And then as they jump, use that to then straighten the character and push the contrapposto onto the other side here. And as the hips push up, let that pinch on that side. And let's overshoot this. So the hips push up, cause that pinch to happen, and then settles. A little too soon. Let's pull that back just a little. There we go. And then make sure this eases to a nice end here. There we go. So watching the hips, watching the spine, seeing how they connect. Oh, take care, Vraucus. Hope you have a great day. Okay, so let's see how we've got that body moving now. That's pretty good. I think at this point, I'm just going to review my curve, make sure everything is working. Nothing feels out of place. And let's look at our rotate Y, because I think there was, like right here, when I see things like this, it always sends a red flag to me. Is like, why is there this big change of direction here? And then another very big change of direction. That to me makes it feel like there's something popping or bouncing. Why? If the character's just leaning back, especially big head, very cartoony character, that momentum doesn't really make sense. I want the spine to lead the action. So as they jump, it's going to have the hips push up, drag the spine forward right here. And I'm getting a little bit too much rotate Z right there. Let's tone that back down a little. Okay, but the rotate Y is going to drag, and then it's going to push upwards, snap back, And then if anything, there's going to be an ease in there and a little bit of overshoot before it then comes forward. So then it'll come forward. This is too much right there. And let's try to ease in here. See how that feels. Yeah, just like that. There we go. Now that spine is working. Let's hit play. See what we've got. Yeah, that feels much better. So now we can feel those rotations in the body, that swinging, that swaying. It's feeling connected to the spine and to the motion here. So when we look at this from the side view, especially at the end, you can feel, let's get rid of the curves there. You can feel that motion. And you can see it's not hugely different from our old animation. That's what that locator is showing us. But especially at the end, see how there was that weight shift? Where before the neck was way more screen left and then it shoots back over? It's little things like that where it wasn't connected to what the hips were doing. It was just doing its own thing. So at this point, I don't even need this locator anymore. Let's just get rid of it. And we've got the body. So at this point, we've got the feet in place. We've got the hips in place. The body is pretty much settled. We could do the head or we could do the arms. One or the other. So the arms are definitely going to be a little bit more of a bigger, not challenge, but it's going to be a bigger project because we have to do the hands, we have to push our arcs, all of that stuff. Is it going to be bad? No. But it's going to be just a little bit more time. The head, we still have to do the face, but we could at least get the head motion in there. So what do I want to do? Let's actually save. That's what I want to do. I want to save. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn off these PV, like, I think they are the IK handles. No. Let's see. Deformers. Dimensions. There we go. Don't need to see those arrows. They just get in the way. I know that they're connected to the PVs of the knee, so. Let's see. Look at the shot from multiple angles. Okay. You know, let's get the head done just so we can get that motion, because once we bring it in, it's going to have to get done anyway. And then we'll do a quick pass on the arms. I don't know if I'll have time to do the hands today. We might do the hands tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, on Monday. So let's do the head. And I'm going to keep the hair off for now. This way it's easier just to see the main motion of the head and not get caught up on the hair sticking through in weird areas. Okay, so the head honestly is not going to need too much work. It's really just going to be, once again, connecting it to the rest of the motion. So let's look at our axes. X is forward and back. Okay, Y is perfect. So let's do our Y axis first. And actually, always good to double check. Am I going to get any gimbal lock? I doubt it. The head is very rare to get gimbal lock, but I am starting to get a little gimbal right there. That's going to be something to watch out for. That's not a big issue. Gimbal lock is when your axes line up with each other. So for example, if I rotate the head here, see how the X and Z line up? I'm losing an axis of direction. So this happens when you have kind of extreme rotations in your animation or in your shot. So in this case, I don't have to worry about it too much, but it is something that I'm gonna have to be careful of. Something to just watch out for. So I can do the rotate Y first. That should be nice and easy to clean. And then the rotate X and Z, I'll just have to be careful of later. And Greg, we can definitely take a look at some dialogue in the end here. I'll try to get the head done first, and then we can take a look at it. Let's see, for an animation like this, do you go for a post-pose workflow, or do you identify the key poses before and block that first? So for this, I actually did a straight ahead animation. I just went one pose at a time and just animated from start all the way to the end. So I did straight ahead. For most of the shots that I do a pose to pose. So I identify the main key shots, the main key poses, and then I will break them down in between. It really depends on the scenario and what I'm animating. For this one, because I was, what's the right word I'm looking for? I was trying to get more of the fluidity of the shot. I figured doing a little bit of straight ahead would work better. Okay. So I want her to kind of keep her head looking over to the side. So basically she's dancing one way, and as she turns, quick turn the other way. So the head is going to basically be facing one direction a lot of the time, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it does mean I'm going to have to be very careful how I animate this so that it doesn't feel stiff and dead, and also doesn't feel disconnected. So for example, here her body's rotating around towards screen right, but her head is turning the other way. So it's actually going this way. That's kind of hard to do. It's not impossible, but I definitely don't want to have a big change in direction. I can have a little one, and that should help kind of create that contrast, but definitely try to avoid getting that disconnect. A lot of it's going to be also the rotate X. Terra keeping me alive. Okay, now here the head kind of pauses and then snaps. I just want to ease that in. Here, let's keep easing that in a little bit before it starts to change direction. I want to create this contrast with the body. The body has this nice swoop through there. Maybe I could make that a little faster. But I want that head to drag back and almost feel a little bit more fluid. Just a little bit. So it doesn't just feel like the head is dragging behind the body and just like the body moves and then the head follows along after. The body's a little bit more dynamic while the head is a little bit more controlled. Now here we've got a little bit of side to side. Do I need that? I guess like when she lands here, it would be cool to see a little bit of like a shake to the head. So she lands and you get that motion and drag right there from the impact. And then from there, it should ease into the stop right there. So trying to get this connected feeling. If the head didn't react to that impact, it would feel weird. Okay. So that's the rotate Y. I think that's pretty much done. I think the only thing I want to double check is right at the end. I think this is a little too much of a pop. Let's kind of bring this in a little bit. Just make that ease to a stop a little bit better. A little bit more than that. Okay. So that's the rotate Y. Pretty simple. Rotate X. Okay, yeah, there's definitely some stuff going on here. That's going to be the nod, basically, the up and down. So as the character drags back here, definitely want that nose to drag upwards. So watch where the nose was before. Afterwards, it should kind of be dragging back towards that position a little bit. Let's drag it back. And actually, let's push this a little bit more. I want to push that arc of the nose. So push that rotate Y of the head right there. Just a little bit right through there. So we get a little bit more of an arcing motion through here. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. So drag the head. Maybe a little bit more drag there, just a little. Then the head will overlap down. Just going to build an arc to that head turn. Drags. Let's keep dragging the head up a little bit more. Or sorry, drag the head down. So drag it. And then let's overlap that a little bit more. Push that line of action all the way through. Maybe drag that a little bit more through here. Okay, let's drag that head back there. Now you'll notice I'm not doing the neck yet. The neck is a very important part of the animation. I'm not going to skip it. But the neck is also one of those things that I can always... the neck is sympathetic to the head a lot of the times. So I want to make sure I get the head motion working correctly first. And then from there, I'll be able to build in the neck to flow with what's happening with the head. If I try to animate the neck right now, more than likely I'm just going to have to redo some of the animation for it. So I'm trying to push the head here to get this nice like drag of the head right through. It'll also help push the line of action in my posing. Okay. Here it's too straight. Let's drag that back. Then we get that nice pop. Add that weight to the head. Just got a very big head, so I want it to feel like there's weight to it. Not so much that it's just like swinging around like a wrecking ball. That's not going to be fun. Well, it might be fun in certain ways, but it's not going to be super interesting to look at. I just want to make sure that it feels like there's a rhythm to that head motion. I think we can push the arc at the beginning here a little bit too. So a little bit of drag there, that's fine. But then let's overlap it a little bit more. And kind of push that line of action. So right here, that C curve, I want it to go right through that head. There we go. So something like that. Bobblehead dancing. Yeah, the ultimate dancing. Okay, now as she comes up here, we're dragging the head up And then as it comes down here, let's overlap that head down. So up, drags, and then it should overshoot and settle. So drag. Overshoot. Settle. Okay. Let's go through the curves and see if we can clean things up a little bit. Yeah, that's going a little too far back. I think that's gonna be my Z. Well, actually, it's both because I'm getting that gimbal. Okay. I think my Y is popping. Nope. It's the gimbal. That's pretty good though. There we go. So that's the head motion for the most part. I think at the beginning there's a little bit of a wave to it. Let's tone down. I think it's my rotate Y. Yeah, so what's happening is as she turns, you can see the head kind of turning screen left, and then it goes screen right. So it's kind of doing a little bit of a wave in there. I'm not a fan of that. Let's see if we can simplify that a little bit. Let's just ease this. Boop. So now it just goes screen right the whole time. Yeah, that feels better. We're not getting a little shake in the head. There we go. That's the head motion. Let's actually look at it from side view. Not bad. Oh, there's definitely a pop. See right there? Right in here. Goes forward and then back. What's causing that? It's not going to be the head. It's going to be something in the body or the hips. That hand is just terrible. I need to clean up those arms so bad. Let's fix that pop, and then we'll probably call it here. And then tomorrow, or sorry, on Monday, we're going to get the arms pretty much done. And at that, so it's arms, face. We'll probably get those done on Monday. And then it'll just be the clothing. Yeah, so it's the rotation in the hips right here. My rotate X is causing this pop. Whoop. Bring that back. There we go. That's better. Let's maybe exaggerate that a little bit more. And let's see how that feels. That's better. Let's see, what's the shortcut to switch the frames? So to go frame to frame, it's comma and period. So you just need to select a control. And then comma and period, it'll frame through. If you hit Alt and comma and period, it'll go frame by frame. So I can just frame through like that, or I'm just hitting play right now. And overall, it's feeling pretty good. I still need to retime this a little bit, but I think we're starting to get into a good place here. The rotate Y at the very end feels a little strange right there. Let's look at our rotate Y. I think it's a mixture of the rotate Y and the rotate X. There you go. That's a little better. Okay. Now, we talked about the neck being very important, but also we don't have to worry about it too much. Essentially, the neck is sympathetic. So at this point, what I can do is a couple of things. One, I can just animate it manually, which is totally fine. Or I could copy animation over to it. In this case, because I don't have too many poses, I think I'm just going to animate manually. So the big rotation is going to be that forward rotation. On this rig, that's the rotate Y. So as the character leans forward here, for example, I want that head to have a little bit more of a lean. Just in general, our neck tends to lean forward more than it does point straight up. So especially like in motions like this, I really want that neck to lean forward and drag, so we get that flow of the motion here. And it doesn't feel like like right here. See how the whole body feels super stiff? Even when we straighten our back, our neck doesn't line up straight like that, especially if our head is dragging. If we do that, then that's when all the chins come in. So to help create that better flow, I'm going to drag that neck down a little bit. Even here, drag that neck forward. See how suddenly the pose looks less like weirdly awkward with the head super far back? It just brings it forward and makes it a little bit more natural feeling. I don't want to push it too far. And then here, it'll start dragging back because now the head is dragging upwards. So that's good. Let's actually make sure we're looking at our rotate Y, make sure we're not doing anything too crazy. So we get something like that. Rotate back, drag. As it comes through. Here, it's going to start dragging down again. So look at the shape of the back here. Try to get that drag in there. Keep that drag going. Now, once again here, let's drag that neck back and then let it snap back. There we go. I could even maybe push it just a little further back right there, just a little. And we'll go to the end. Just a little forward, and I'm just going to ease this in. There we go. So that's the core of the neck motion there. Now we can add a little bit of, in this case, rotate Z to the neck. The big thing to keep in mind with the rotate Z is that it's very subtle. Our neck will flex side to side, but it doesn't really move that much. So as I put this in here, it's going to be trying to enhance the line of action, but not trying to get a crick in the neck, essentially. I have to be very, very subtle about this. So for example here, I could try to push the line of action just a little bit more. Right through there. Add a little bit of drag. This pose here, it looks kind of weird because the character is looking straight at camera. Normally I try to avoid those poses, but they're going to happen from time to time. What I'm going to have to do is just make sure to offset the eyes. Okay. So I'm just looking at the pose, seeing where I can push the neck in order to improve the line of action and line it up with the spine a little bit more. And once I have that in place, I'll be able to just clean up my curves, and I should pretty much be done with that. Okay, so let's see what we've got. Just ease this in right there. It's probably too big of a change. Ease that in. Probably just ease all this right there. And then let's ease all this out. Done. So there's my neck animation. So now it's not stiff, it's not dead, but it's not also doing a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, I could also have her blink on that frame as well. There's still a little... Where is it? Right there. See how the head kind of turns and then it just goes straight back there? Something is going on with my rotate Y. There we go. Ease that in a little bit. That's better. Even though we don't really register this last frame, it goes by so fast. I still want to hold it there. Actually, I could technically make this shot 89 frames. And then since we're in step mode, it's gonna register cleanly anyway. Then we will actually register that last pose. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so there we go. Now at this point, like I said, I'll have time for a couple of quick reviews. I'm pretty much going to be ready for it right away. Just thinking here. So the next thing we need to do is do the arms, do a quick retiming of the shot. So for example, I want this beginning here to be a little faster, hold a little bit more right here, go a little faster in that section through there. It's just going to be a few frames here and there. So nothing too bad. Yeah, so just a little bit of adjustment. And then we've got the arms, clavicles. Let's actually bring in her hair again, just so we have that. So hair. We'll keep the whisks off for now. There we go. The head feels a little bobbly right at the end. I'm not a fan. I'm gonna have to tone down those motions, but for now we'll keep it. I feel like I need to get fresh eyes again on this. So let's see. Yeah, let's actually save this because it's good to save. And then I just want to compare it to what I had yesterday. So it's not going to be a huge difference. So this is what we had yesterday right here. And you can see, it doesn't look that different. But a lot of it is the small things, and specifically the things we couldn't see. We had fixed a lot, and actually, let's actually do it this way. Since I've got this other scene open, I'm going to open up the first version of the dance here. Okay. Let's open this up. Takes a little bit. Okay. Come on. Almost there. It befrozed. Oh well. So while this is frozen, the big things that were happening was the stuff we couldn't see. The body, the spine was not actually working. Even though it looks okay from this view, if you were to look at it from the side view, the spine was just wiggling and doing all sorts of things. The hips, same thing. All of the weight shifts weren't working correctly, which means that the body just was broken. If we look at the feet, there's a lot of moments where the feet just freeze and don't feel alive, especially through this transition here. Look at that foot that's holding the weight. It just absolutely frozen. The ankle is just spinning over top of this like frozen foot. The head motion, there's a lot of points where if you actually just watch the rotation of the head, it freezes. It just locks in places. Moving, 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 moving. So there's a lot of these just little imperfections. A lot of it stemming from the hips not working quite right. So we took a lot of time here to make sure that those motions work correctly. And ooh, why is everything... Oh wait, yeah, so this is the version we had before. So let's actually enable step preview. So let's look at this from our perspective camera. So from the perspective camera, you can see how the body is not working. Like weight shifts is just bouncing all over the place. Look at that head, how it's just crashing everywhere. So even though it looked good in the camera view, we were having a lot of issues that we couldn't see, which is going to cause issues later on in our shot. So in our new version, we basically cleaned that up, where now, as the character moves, we're pushing the line of action. You can see the character dips down quite a bit more in that section. There's more curvature. If we look at it from the side view, the head works. It's actually flowing correctly. The spine is working. The hips are actually reacting correctly to what the legs are doing. So we're building that connection in there. The feet don't feel dead. So if we zoom in here and look at the feet, there's no moment where the foot just feels absolutely still. Like here, you can actually feel a little bit of that shoe rotating along with the ankle instead of just the ankle. Let's kind of compare it here. See how that ankle moves, but nothing in the foot changes? It's a small thing, but it makes a big difference in keeping that character alive the entire way through. So, yeah, the last beat, it turned out surprisingly well. It was a beat that I really wanted to sell, and I think I can push it a little bit more, specifically in the hips, but I'm glad it's actually reading. The first pass we did, definitely it wasn't. Let's actually look at it here. You can see that beat, like we're missing that up. It just kind of, it's not working. The left leg dragging just enough. Yeah. Yeah, you can see it here. Like it feels like the legs aren't quite working when she kind of pops up. There's a weird drag to it. That back leg feels sticky on this old version, and the hips just don't quite work. With this new version, it's just a little bit pushed. Not a huge change, but we feel that up and down a little bit more. And we did that by holding the down a little lower before and popping up into it versus the other one that eased into the top. And I can push it even more, I think. Really get that little double bounce in there. So it's little things, but it makes a big difference in the end product. And I like to take my time on this. Like at this point, even though we're technically still in step mode, and this is kind of a early pass on this, we're pretty much polished on a lot of these elements. If we wanted to bring this onto ones, it would just be a few breakdowns and then that's it. Very quick. But everything else is actually reading cleanly and clearly. The mechanics are working. All of that is good. So yeah, it would just be a few minor things to push this even further. Let's see, I just want to compare something here. So here, this pose, I want to look at this pose. I want to compare how far I went with it, if it is even any further. Yeah. Oh. Wait, is that the right one? This one. You can see how, look at the body here, how stiff it is. This is one of my biggest pet peeves in animation, like in my own animation, because I used to do it for so long, is not pushing the spine nearly enough. The character, if you look at the spine in this old shot, there's a couple of poses like this one where you can feel that curvature in the spine, but for the most part, the spine is straight. The hips are moving underneath, but the spine just kind of does this the whole time. That's not interesting. We can exaggerate that posing. Here you can definitely feel that the spine has a curve to it. As she comes up through here, you really feel that contrast between there and there. And I can push this even more. So, for example, let's actually do this super quick, just as an example. What I can do, and what I'll probably end up doing, is pushing the hips a little bit further back here. So push that rotate X right there. So let's look at the graph editor to see where it was before. And actually make sure it's the rotate X that I was doing. Okay, rotate Z. So comes through here. What I'll probably end up doing is pushing this even further this way. So we get that bigger change right in there. And then using the spine to curve the character back into place. And now you really feel that curvature of the spine and that reversal. That's a little bit too paused there. And then the same thing here. We can take that motion right through there and exaggerate that. So now you really feel that whip of the spine versus what we had before. You feel that curve happen there. Same thing here. Take that rotate Z, push it more this way. Take the spine, push it forward. And we're starting to get that bending of the spine. Let's see how that feels. Yeah, that feels even better. So now we feel that unfurling of the spine versus just the essentially what I don't like is the feeling of this, where you have a stiff character and they're just doing that. The hips are rotating, but the top of the body just stays still. That's what it feels like when you don't exaggerate the spine. So by pushing that spine curve, we now get that flip and weight and dynamic feeling to the character. And we can push this throughout the shot even more. But for now, I'm going to just keep that. And there you go. So it's hard to know how much you can push poses without it looking broken. The big thing is just push it until it's broken and then pull it back. That's the big thing. If you're always just trying to push your pose just to the edge and just, oh, is this broken? Nah, let's try go a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. You're never going to get there. Push it till you break the pose and then bring it back until it looks fine. That's when you're going to really get that nice dynamic feeling in there. Let's see, there's one section here. I'm going to have to push this leg pose here. I'm not a fan of that hip. Oh, I think we talked about this earlier. I think maybe it's just this knee PV. Gonna bring that in. Try to get a better curve in that leg. I can also just kind of push this up here a little bit more. Maybe a little bit of both. And then let's lead with the knee here a little bit more. Yeah, I think that feels a little better. It was overstretching. I think I could stretch it a little bit here, but not to get that straight leg. There we go. That's better. Little changes.